It's daybreak here on Arise News. Time for the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. Let's take a look at this day, our sister publication. Leading headline this morning: Tinubu, disregard rumor about my health. I'm refreshed and ready for task ahead. Barral says Nigerians are glad to see the president-elect back and fit. Meanwhile, APC to suspend Amaechi's ex-chief of staff, others over anti-party activities. Just at the bottom there, Enugu Governor-elect Mba names Chioke Abba, Onya Nebo, and 60 others in transition committee. Afenifere, resurgence of terrorism after 2023 polls worrying. Meanwhile, President Buhari to launch network against crime in the Gulf of Guinea. He departs for Accra today. 2022 FYE, 5 big banks stand firm despite economic headwinds.
On the front page of The Punch is also leading with the story of the return of a president-elect of Nigeria, Tinubu, after 34 days, dismissing ill health rumors. Ignore ill health rumors. I will assemble strong team and hit the ground running, says president-elect. And of course, Tinubu APC National Working Committee to meet lawmakers-elect over NAS leadership. That's the writer to the story. The leading picture is that of the return of Tinubu to Abuja yesterday, and of course a welcome parade for him at the airport. Above the nameplate, Sudan conflict. Ethiopia blocks fleeing Nigerian students. Factions agree 72-hour ceasefire. Federal government knocks student for ignoring warning against self-evacuation. And the Nigerian Governors Forum is holding valedictory session for 17 outgoing governors. Lagos Stadium, from West Africa's best to national shame. That's a report by The Punch. 8 states got zero investments in 4 years. A report, and Ondo farmers raised the alarm over herdsmen attacks. All of that and a copy of The Punch.
Let's look at The Guardian. All right, International Day. Nigerians spend 2.04 trillion naira yearly on malaria prevention and its treatment. Afenifere tackles Buhari over resurgence of terrorism, plea for forgiveness. And just below that, worries over HNDBSC bill as Buhari's exit nears. And then below the pictures of Tinubu thumbing up his two hands. Sudan crisis, airline offers free flight as Northern Coalition condemns delay in evacuation. After 34 days rest overseas, Tinubu affirms readiness for the task ahead. And pharmacists kick over exclusion for 40% pay rise for workers, make demands.
The Daily Sun this morning, leading headline: Usman Yara opens up on Tinubu, Alpha Conde, and Guinea. Throws light on president-elect's link with Guinea. Tinubu returns after 34 days abroad. More headlines on the Daily Sun this morning. Gunmen kill 7 in Plateau as herdsmen militia kill 4 mourners in Benue. Petrol price increased by 42.63% a litre in 1 year. That's from the NBS.
Let's take a look at the foreign papers. The Eye is focusing on the escalating crisis in Sudan with the headline: Stranded Brits face 3-day drive in Sudan war zone to reach Royal Navy ships.
The Daily Telegraph. She prepares biggest military build-up in history. Britain and EU vow to protect wind farms from Putin.
The Independent this morning. British doctor shot as UK troops land in Sudan to spearhead rescue mission. 2 warships on their way as up to 4,000 Brits trapped by fierce fighting.
Well, the Daily Telegraph, have we taken that? Okay,
yeah,
we have the, okay, great. So the Financial Times says China rebound makes first European group to hit $500 billion in value. Yes, business centers global top 10. Luxury sector rivals left behind. Stronger Euro boost prospects.
All right, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello now for the paper review. Bello, Emmanuel, glad to have you join us this morning. Let's look at this day. It says, Tinubu, disregard, rumor about my health. I'm refreshed. I'm ready for the task ahead. With some writers, their Nigerians are glad to see you back. And Feed says, Barao, APC to suspend Amechi's ex-chief of staff, Abbas, over anti-party activities. And then on the topmost over this day, 2022 FYE5 banks stand firm despite economic headwinds. You want to look at those two stories, Emmanuel?
Well, I think the big story is Tinubu's return because, yesterday we started the story. This day, chuck it somewhere on the side of the paper, and no other person wanted to touch that story because Faleke was very sure that Tinubu will return, but of course people just were waiting to see how it happened, and so it happened yesterday. A return, seeing is believing in this case, and so I think there's a relief. I'm sure Faleke himself would be very relieved because he was the one that assured the country that Tinubu will be back. So he's back. Nigerians were watching yesterday. Some watching critically to see whether there will be telltale signs of the health issues that has been dogging this president-elect since the time he was candidate. Issues around his health, his frailty, and all the other issues around him. So I guess everyone was watching him yesterday as he alighted from that plane, and a lot of eyes were turned on him. But he's telling everyone that, look, I'm fit, I'm okay, and I'm going to assemble a strong team. So first, that takes away rumors about his health. I was talking to some people who said they were shocked at the way he was looking healthy, almost looking healthy. But then we're not doctors to know what, those records are not open to us. We don't know what kind of treatment he's gone for. Those things are always shrouded in mystery out here. You don't have full disclosure. A lot of commentators have said, look, what we need is a full disclosure of his health status. Are we going to see a repeat of what we went through with the Buhari days, which is 32 days off over a month out of the country, and then more medical trips? Is Tinubu going to go back for more medical trips, or is he back now for the serious work of governance? Because himself, he was saying yesterday that, look, he knows that it's tough and that he needs to set up a team. A lot of people say that is one of his strengths, this whole thing about setting up a strong team, that he's done that in the past. He is also taught in that. He said that in the campaign, that he's very good at assembling the right people. And some people say that that's what you really need to run the country, assembling the right people, having the right policy, and having the political will. Some people say, Tinubu's got that. But don't forget, indeed, that the bigger issues, the greater issues of these elections, the fact that they're in the court, are still there. And a lot of people having it in the back of their mind, questioning the legitimacy of the government itself. But for now, especially for his base, they are all rallied up. They were around yesterday welcoming him and looking forward to what he said he was going to do, which is meet with the leadership of the National Assembly. And of course, we'll begin to see what looks like the beginning of his of what is called the Tinubu years, or the incoming government of Tinubu.
All right, Emmanuel, let's take a look at another story on the front page of this day from Afenifere. It says, resurgence of terrorism after 2023 polls worrying. It seemed like the weeks leading to the general elections, there was a reduction of terrorism around the country, banditry, kidnapping. And just after the election, there's been a swarm of those issues back again. On the front page of the Daily Sun, you have a report of gunmen killing 7 people in Plateau State, 4 mourners killed in Benue State, swaths of kidnapping all over the country. There was a kidnapping of over 100 students from a hostel in Kebbi State, amongst others.
Yeah, it's a very important observation by Afenifere, because the confusion is there. I mean, and Afenifere really rightly pointed that leading to the election, there seemed to be a cessation of some of those kind of violence and those hostile developments around us. But that now that they are back again and back almost with a vengeance. So and it's almost like a parting gift. Some people will say it's parting shots from this administration, especially an administration that promised that in a matter of months they will have been done with this. And it's as if, like Afenifere is mildly suggesting that the government doesn't really care anymore, and that those things actually just ended so that there will be elections. And after that, well, there were no serious concern. It also means that from what Afenifere is saying, that this can be caught, because actually we had a cessation. What happened? Who did what? How was it done? How come we had, some kind of relief, a break in those situations? Why are we having a resurgence? It means that someone somewhere can actually do some of the control. So Afenifere is not saying clearly that, look, it's worrisome. It's actually, paradoxical that at the time that we're thinking of, if a breath of fresh air, a new administration is coming, we're still dealing with very old issues, very old troubles. That is why I think a lot of people are worried about the kind of quality of leadership that we are about to experience, the kind of president that we're going to have. That's why a lot of people are looking at Tinubu to see whether he's going to be the commander-in-chief that really, the nation is needing, especially in the face of the resurgence of some of the things that scare us the most: the kidnapping, the assaults, the kind of stories that the Sun newspaper has just covered. Those are the things that worry Nigerians a lot, and I think that's why Nigerians are saying that we needed credible leadership that is solid, that is on ground, that can actually grapple with this situation. And people, all eyes on Tinubu to see how he's going to address this in the very first few months or weeks of his being sworn in.
Emmanuel Bello, The Guardian is focusing on World Malaria Day, which is today, as the leading story. It says Nigeria as a country is spending over 2 trillion naira yearly on prevention and treatment.
Well, I think it's an important story, and Guardian newspaper in its style. I think no other person was talking about remembering that it's the International Day of the mosquito. Oh, sorry, malaria, because on that front page you have the picture of Guardian. You have the mosquito. They almost almost giving a kind of rock star kind of attention. But that insect, that little creature there, is the cause of the kind of damage that the Guardian newspaper is reporting. Over 2 trillion naira expended on treatments and and even the impact it's having on the economy. Such a little insect. I'm sure everyone on this side, this one, including yourself probably, we've all had our bouts with malaria. Part of the story is looking at how individuals, beyond what government is doing, government is spending that much on prevention and control, but individuals every day, everywhere, household, everyone had to grapple with the issue of malaria. And the story goes on to look at how much Nigerians, families are spending on malaria on a daily, weekly basis. It's just also a kind of rebuke that in spite of this kind of monies, we still haven't grappled with this situation, and that householders still have to spend out of pocket expenses of malaria. What's going on? How much of this money is really going into prevention? Why is that the needle is not even moving at all? We still have escalation where the record shows that we're the highest globally in that sector. So is it that these monies are not used very well? The Guardian story is really looking at that, and then looking at the crisis, the health implication, the financial implication, and everything. I think it's a story that everybody will you want to grab, because of course we all know the story of malaria. We've lived with it all our lives, and everyone has had to spend some kind of money on treatments, or even at least just prevention. So, but then when you look at how much government says spending on this, you know that little or nothing has been done in form of extending serious leadership into stopping what is actually also stoppable.
All right, the Sun newspaper, Osman Yara opens up on Tinubu, Alpha Conde and Guinea, throws light on President-elect's link with Guinea. And below that picture of Tinubu and Osman Conde, Nigeria's telephone users hit 222.5 million. Does that mean that we're getting even the rural areas, more intercommunication. What do you think, Emmanuel?
Well, that's what the story, indeed, the story is suggesting that at least, that, greater use of the facility. But the question would be, what about, is it leading to better communications? Are we spending better on that sector? What's going on? So some of those are some of the questions. But it's interesting that the Sun newspaper is focusing on Tinubu again, but on two different one questioning the issue of his links, his the sort of questions that is always, when you talk about Tinubu, those are the kind of questions people will ask: his links, his citizenship, his identity crisis, and just again they're talking about his return, another issue around the issue of Tinubu, his health and all of that. My worry is that maybe these are some of the things. This is how we're going to be running through the coming years around the Tinubu personality. I hope we'll be seeing better stories on what he's doing to change the narrative, the situation, because this has lingered on for too long. The question around his identity, his health, his personality, who he is, his record, what he's done in the past. Those seems to be the kind of story he needs to do. Himself and his team need to do a lot to change all that story, so that we begin to see, talks about what he can do and what he's doing. Well, in the coming months, he will have the opportunity to be able to do that. I think Nigerians will be watching to see whether he can actually flip it and turn the story. But for now, these are the sort of things we'll be reading about Tinubu, his, the crisis around his identity, those court cases and everything. I think people are tired. It's like deja vu. We're back to discussing the sort of thing that we discussed at the campaigns, and but we're stuck with these stories because when you mention Tinubu, those are the sort of thing that people think about. So I think it's for them. It's a moment where his handlers and those his supporters, we have to think of how they will flip this kind of stories around, so that next time we're doing a Tinubu story, probably we'll be looking at something different from what I thought we trashed that at the level of campaigns, the issue of his identity or his health or his personality or his records or even his sincerity or his honesty or even his capacity. Those seem to be the issues that are always surrounding him. And you can't blame Nigerians. We need to worry about this because, like we look at the other story, we're dealing with serious problems, and we need a serious person on the saddle.
Another problem that's gripping the whole world, the fighting in Sudan. 10 days of continuous fighting. Many countries are now evacuating their citizens. On the front page of The Punch, it says, Sudan conflict. Ethiopia blocks fleeing Nigerian students. Factions agree 72 hours ceasefire. Meanwhile, the federal government knocks students for ignoring warnings against self-evacuations. Nigerians that are in Sudan are panicking. They're not waiting for the Nigerian government. They say the Nigerian government is being too slow. How does this reflect on the Nigerian government? Does it show that this nation is sort of they react to situations as it happens rather than being proactive? Because if we had a sort of a contingency plan to evacuate our citizens in countries that have conflicts, we wouldn't be in this situation. It just seems like whenever something is happening, that's when Nigeria begins to make plans, and it just all looks a bit mucky, Emmanuel.
Yeah, Gejan, I can put it better than your summation of the situation. That's exactly what it is. It's a bit slow. It's not serious. Compare that to what we're reading in the international papers this morning, in the British papers. The seriousness, the back-to-back following. We're not even hearing very serious officials of the Nigerian state talking about this. Our newspaper, of course, we're running with the Tinubu returns and the rest of the thing. But lives are in danger. Those numbers in Sudan are not just figures. They are people, they are human beings. They've got families back here. Everyone is worried. Imagine you have a ward trapped in Sudan, and now Ethiopia is not even helping. You will think that this is the time for countries around to support fleeing people, but that is not. But again, you're not going to depend on other countries to help you deal with your situation. And that, for instance, the UK government is not waiting for anything; it's doing everything it can do. Its citizens are even saying that, look, they are not doing enough as it is because they were able to evacuate the officials, and they've not dealt with the 1,000 of Brits still, held up there, and they are focusing on it. We also need to, beam our searchlight on that maybe sometimes we need to just go away a little bit from politics and worry about the human angle of things like Sudan. What's government doing? We need to press them further to get answers. What are they doing? Who are they talking to? What are the plans? They need to be very clear about it, and not to be asking Nigerians to just stay back, don't help yourself. When people are caught in that kind of a thing, of course they would like to help them. They would want to find routes. They would like to escape. But it takes seriousness on the part of a very serious government to be able to talk to us. But it's our job too, we that cover these things, to press for more answers.
Emmanuel Bello, and of course, again, to the rescue, we have a private airline, Air Peace, coming to the rescue of Nigerians, promising to evacuate them free of charge. But again, we must also ask why Ethiopia has decided to block our students or stop our students from fleeing. Why do we have a situation with Ethiopia? It also has to do with our foreign policy. I guess a lot around that story. But Emmanuel Bello, we have to thank you for your analysis every morning, as always. Thank you so much.